Off we go! Let's read. Metcha read. Mocha read. Watcha read. Empathy, Chapter 3. Higher Learning. In the last part, Riley, accustomed to San Fransokyo, she made a new friend in Tip, and she reunited with Hiro and Tadashi the night after stuff. So, it sounds like in this chapter they're going to be going to school and try and convince Hiro that school is a lot better than bot fights if you want an education and if you want a proper job. So let's go. Cass's old red pickup truck rumbled through the streets of San Fransokyo, rolling down the steep hills towards the bay, the sight of the Torii Gate Bridge looming before them. The four of them sat close together in the truck's single long seat. Why did I say trunk? Tadashi behind the wheel, Hiro by his side with Riley to the boy's right, and Tip pushed up against the passenger door. Riley and Tip smiled as they looked over the downtown area as they passed through it, the tall buildings and flashing advertisements catching their attention as they went. Just checking that I had data on because I'd be screwed if I did. Pretty nice, isn't it? Tadashi questioned, smirking as he glanced at the girls. Yeah, Tip agreed with a nod, staring up at a multi-story tall screen on the side of a skyscraper, advertising the newest Cray-Tech tablet computer. We don't have stuff like this back in Barbados. What are those things? Riley questioned, pointing up. Following the girl's gaze, Tadashi smiled as he saw the colorful balloons that floated above the skyline of the city, tethered to the various buildings. Those are generators, Tadashi explained. They're basically wind turbines tied to hot air balloons. They help power the city. Very green. Wow! If only we could get hot air balloons that generate electricity like that. That'd be sick. Riley's attention was pulled away from the generators as an expansive college campus came into view. Sorry, bike. Immaculate green lawns spread across the campus between the various academic buildings. Passing through a gate that led onto campus, Riley saw a sign that proclaimed it to be the San Fransokyo Institute of Technology. Again, walking on the pathway near the road. As Tadashi drove them around campus, Riley could see the students that called the college home making their way around the college. Some lounging in the shade of the cherry trees scattered about, while others walked through the Japanese-style gardens between the academic buildings. Eventually, Tadashi pulled the truck to a stop in front of a large, modern building with a rounded design and glass windows that made up the front of the building. A sign out front declared it to be the Ito Ishioka Robotics Lab. Wow! Riley said in amazement as they climbed out of the truck. This is amazing! It's alright, I guess, Hiro stated with a shrug as he walked up next to Riley. Are you kidding? Riley questioned, raising an eyebrow at Hiro. We don't have anything like this college back in Minnesota. See? Told you the city is pretty great when you give it a chance. Tadashi chuckled as he walked by, heading towards the front door of the lab building. And you haven't even seen the inside yet. Following Tadashi, the group entered the building before walking through the halls and taking an elevator to the second floor. Walking down another hall, the group came to a thick door that was marked as the entrance to the lab. You guys ready to check this out? Tadashi questioned, smirking back at the group. Yeah, sure, Hiro replied with a roll of his eyes. Let's see what your little nerd lab is all about. Shaking his head, Tadashi pulled open the door and allowed the three to enter. As Hiro caught sight of what was inside, his expression changed from the smug smile he had been wearing to a look of amazement that matched the ones Riley and Tip wore. The lab was stark and clean, looking like it was made from a reinforced material designed more to withstand damage than look pretty, led by the fluorescent lights hanging overhead. Glancing around, Hiro, Riley, and Tip could see at least a dozen college students scattered around the large lab, spending their Saturday running experiments. Watching the students, the three children quickly saw that the lab's name was something of a misnomer, because, in addition to robotics, the students were running experiments in other sciences like physics and chemistry. Riley took a few hesitant steps forward, looking around with wide eyes at the scientific wonders that surrounded her. Sorry, it's either an ambulance or a police car or... This is one of the reasons why I would like to move up to Haverstone after I'm done with college this year. There may still be cars, but at least I can find some places that are quiet. Heads up! A voice shouted, snapping Riley out of her stupor as a yellow and black blur came shooting towards her. Gasping in surprise, Riley jumped back as the blur shot by, stumbling back into Hiro and knocking the both of them off balance. Hiro quickly caught himself before reaching out and grabbing Riley's arms to stable her. The surprising contact caused both to blush, Riley mumbling a quick apology while tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, as Hiro set her back on her feet and averted his eyes, running a hand through his messy hair as he looked at the floor. Tip smirked as she observed the interaction, but said nothing. Looking back towards the direction she had seen the blur go in, she saw a person, a college-aged woman by the looks of her, skid to a stop on a sleek, yellow bike a few feet away. The young woman was short, only a few inches taller than Riley herself, and athletically built, her toned muscles showing under her dark gray, capri-length leggings and the white t-shirt she wore. Over her shirt, she wore a black jacket that only came down to her elbows, while she wore a pair of black, red-lined running shorts over her legging. Her face was concealed by a black motorcycle helmet with a black, mirrored visor, and she wore black, fingerless gloves over her hands. The young woman slid off the bike, before effortlessly lifting it up and hanging it on a bike rack that sat at eye level with her. As Riley watched, the woman grabbed the front wheel, a solid yellow metal disc as opposed to the rubber spoked wheels Riley was used to, and pulled it off with surprising ease. Turning, the woman began walking away from the bike, examining the wheel for a moment before casually tossing it over her shoulder, her black sneakers squeaking across the floor. Riley let out a small gasp of shock as the wheel was suddenly grabbed by an unseen force and snapped back into place instead of clattering to the floor. Like Captain America's shield in Age of Ultron. Walking over to the bike, Riley looked it over with fascination. Looking at the wheels, Riley was shocked to find they weren't attached to the bike at all. Instead, they hovered a few inches from where the bike's spokes would have been, and instead of gears and chains, it had a smooth metal surface. Reaching out, Riley passed her hand between the wheel and the spoke, the intrusion having no effect on either, except for the low hum it created. "Hey," a voice said from behind Riley, causing the girl to jump in surprise and spin around to find the woman standing behind her. "What are you doing?" Nothing," Riley stuttered out, her cheeks blushing with embarrassment. "I was just looking." There was a pause, the slight movement of the woman's helmet indicating she glanced at her bike before looking back at Riley. After a moment, Riley heard the woman give a slight snort of amusement as she removed her helmet, revealing she was of Asian descent. The front of her short black hair streaked with violet, while lavender eyeshadow hung above her brown eyes. She absent-mindedly blew a bubble with the pink bubblegum she was chewing, pulling it back into her mouth before it could pop. "Pretty cool, huh?" the woman asked with a smirk, nodding to the bike. "Yeah, Riley began to say, pausing to collect her thoughts before continuing. "How does it float like that?" "Electromagnetic suspension," the woman explained as she stepped up next to the bike. "What's that?" Riley asked in confusion. The woman looked like she was about to say something, but shook her head as she thought better of it. You know what a bullet train is, right? The woman questioned, earning a nod from Riley. Same thing. Bike uses magnets to make the wheels float. But why? Riley pressed. Same reason as the train, the woman answered as she placed her helmet down on the nearby desk. No gears means no friction. No friction means less resistance. Less resistance means the bike goes faster. That's so cool, Riley whispered in awe. It is, the woman agreed, walking up to the bike and pulling the front wheel off again. Still, it's not fast enough. Not yet, at least. The woman turned and tossed the wheel like a frisbee, the disc flying through the air before clanging into a bin full of a half-dozen similar wheels on the other side of the lab. As the woman's arm flexed, Riley caught sight of the edge of a tattoo peeking out from under the sleeve on her right shoulder. Still, it would be cool to have a pair of skates like that, Riley said with wonder. You skate? The woman questioned. Sports? Ice hockey, Riley answered. Nice, the woman replied, nodding her head with an impressed look. I'm more of a roller derby girl myself. Wait, roller derby? Riley questioned in shock. As in the sport where girls skate in circles and beat each other up? Yeah, that sounds about right, the woman answered with a chuckle. Making friends, Riley? Tadashi questioned, grinning. This one yours, Magic? The woman questioned as she looked over at Tadashi, raising an eyebrow at him. I always thought you had a brother. I do. This is Riley's friend. This is Hiro's friend, Riley, Tadashi explained. I butchered that. She helped convince my brother to come to check this place out. Did she now? The woman questioned, raising an eyebrow at Riley, causing the girl to blush. Riley, this is Yuri Park. Oh, that's so cool! What if that was her real name? Oh, sorry, Tadashi said, turning towards Riley as he motioned towards the woman. Though around here, most of us just call her Go-Go. That must be a real name. Disney better canonize this because, wow, that would be a cool name to have. Nice to meet you, Riley. Nice to meet you, Riley said, offering Go-Go her hand. Same, Go-Go replied, shaking Riley's hand firmly before turning to Tadashi as she began walking away. Keep this one around. I like her. Tadashi chuckled before turning back to Riley, finding the girl watching Go-Go as she walked away. You okay, Riley? Tadashi questioned with an amused smile. Yeah, it's just, Riley answered, leaning in so she could speak with Tadashi in a low voice. I think she might be the coolest person I've ever met. Tadashi could only laugh at that. While the others were occupied, Tip wandered around the lab, observing what the other students were working on with fascination. As she went, a low humming caught Tip's attention as she wandered over to a corner of the lab that one of the students had apparently claimed for himself. Looking over, Tip saw a towering, bulky African-American man with a goatee. His hair was a batch of short dreads that were held back from his face by a yellow headband. Pardon me. Yellow headband he wore at his hairline, while his brown eyes were squinted behind a pair of safety glasses. He wore a green sweater and blue jeans over his muscular physique, and his hands were covered by white, rubber gloves as he delicately adjusted something on a device that he stood next to. One of a pair of metal and glass posts that sat a short distance away from one another, thick cables running from their bases. Whoa, do not move, the man said urgently with an oddly high-pitched voice, holding up his hand to stop Tip as she approached before pointing down. Behind the line, please! Looking at her feet, Tip saw a yellow and black line between her and the man's lap. Sorry, Tip apologized as she backed up. Don't worry about it, the man replied. The line is there for your safety. What are you working on? Tip questioned with curiosity. Laser-reduced plasma, the man explained, amused by Tip's interest, patting the posts as he talks. These provide magnetic confinement for ultra-precision. Can I get that in English? Tip requested sarcastically. Maybe it's better if I show you, the man replied with a snort before flicking a switch. The posts hummed with power before a thin, greenish-blue field of energy sprung to life between them, the edges blurring and shifting like flowing electricity. Here, the man said, picking up an apple sitting on a table nearby and holding it up for Tip to see. Catch. The man tossed the apple at Tip, who quickly brought up her hands to catch it. Before the apple could reach her, though, it flew through the field of energy which hummed slightly as the fruit passed through. A second after it passed through, the apple suddenly broke apart into paper thin that retained the outline of the apple. Tip watched in wonder as the apple slices fluttered around her, reaching out to grab one before it fluttered to the floor. Coming soon, Walker's new flavored crisps. Apple-flavored crisps. Or specifically, apple crisps. Instead of potatoes, it's apples. Nobody's gonna get that joke, are they? Maybe they'll get the joke, I don't know. Whoa, Tip whispered in awe, looking the apple slice over. Nicely done, Wasabi, Tadashi said, clapping his hands, prompting the man to take a bow. Wasabi? Tip questioned with amusement. I spilled wasabi on my shirt one time and they never let me forget it, the man sighed with a shake of his head as he turned to his red toolbox. Tip, meet Darren Waylands. Though we mostly call him Wasabi, Tadashi explained. Wasabi, this is my brother's friend, Tip. A pleasure, Wasabi greeted with a nod towards Tip. That would be just cool if Darren Waylands was like his real name and everyone just called him Wasabi to the point where they don't even know what his real name sounds like, unless he asks. Wow, I just made myself sad at that. Please forget that I said anything about that. Walking over to Wasabi, Tip looked at his toolbox. The girl's eyes widened in surprise as she saw the tools on top were immaculately organized, even noting outlines of the tools drawn on the surface to mark where they went. Wow, Tip observed wryly. How do you find anything in this mess? I have a system, Wasabi replied. A place for everything and everything in its place. I wish my stuff was more organized like that. Suddenly, Go-Go darted up, grabbing a wrench from the toolbox while bumping it with her hip, jostling the rest of the tools out of position. Need this, she declared with a smirk before darting away as Wasabi looked down at his disheveled toolbox in shock. After a moment, Wasabi leapt to his feet and began chasing after Go-Go. You can't just do that! Wasabi shouted as he ran, ignoring Tip as she giggled at the display. This is anarchy! Society has rules, you know! In a different part of the lab, Hiro wandered about, watching as the different students worked on their experiments. Excuse me! Hiro heard a loud voice declare. Coming through! Turning around, Hiro's eyes widened in surprise as he found a female student rolling a giant, black, metal ball across the floor towards them. I need to catch my breath. Stepping aside, Hiro allowed the young woman to pass before following her as she made her way over towards a table where an expansive chemistry set had been placed. As he followed her, Hiro was able to get a better look at the student. She was impressively tall, likely taller than Tadashi was, aided by the yellow platform heels she wore, and possessed a willowy build and lightly tanned skin. She had long, honey blonde hair that hung to the small of her back, which she kept out of her eyes thanks to the yellow headband she wore at her headline. Her entire outfit, consisting of a long coat, a short dress and tights, was various shades of yellow and cut in a distinctly 70s style. Her bright green eyes were framed by thick, magenta-rimmed glasses, and white earbuds trailed from her ears, from which Hiro could hear the light sound of Latin music bleeding out. As she reached the lad, The woman quickly ran around the front of the ball and pushed her weight against it to stop the heavy object's momentum, before stepping on a switch in the floor, causing a pair of prongs to rise up and hold the ball in place. Leaning against the ball, she huffed with effort before spotting Hiro watching her. She studied him for a moment before her green eyes lit up with excitement. "Oh my gosh, you must be Hiro!" Oh wait, in the movie she pronounced Hiro. "Hiro!" she declared at a too loud volume, trying to talk over music only she could hear, as she walked around the ball towards him. "Tadashi's told me so much about you!" She quickly hugged him while giving the boy a quick kiss on each cheek, catching him completely off guard. "Where's your..." the woman began to say before gasping excitedly as she saw Tadashi walking over. I tried to gasp. It went wrong. She quickly moved over to Tadashi, putting him into a hug and giving him a lingering kiss on the cheek. "It's so good!" the woman started before Tadashi winced at the volume of her voice and motioned for her to take the buds out of her ears. The woman's eyes widened as she realized what Tadashi meant before sheepishly grinning at him as she took the earbuds out. "Sorry," she apologized for embarrassment. "Don't worry about it," Tadashi replied with a chuckle. "I see you found my brother." "I did!" the woman declared excitedly as she turned to look at Hiro. "Why don't you show him what you're working on?" Tadashi suggested. "That's a great idea! You two have perfect timing!" the woman decided before turning to Hiro, grabbing his shoulders and dragging him over to the chemistry lab. "You're going to love this," she said as she quickly walked Hiro down the table, adjusting beakers and burners with an almost manic energy as she went. A dash of perchloric acid, a smidge of cobalt, a hint of hydrogen peroxide, all of it superheated to 500 Kelvin. When they came to the end of the table, a violet pink liquid being fed by a dropper was waiting for them. Quickly turning off the dropper, the woman picked up the vial and led Hiro back over to the metal ball as she attached a spray head to the top of the vial. "That's hollow tungsten carbide," Hiro observed. 400 pounds of it!" the woman declared excitedly. "Now watch this!" Walking around the ball, the woman quickly circled the metal ball, spraying it all over with the vial's contents. As the liquid settled, the woman reached out and pulled a lever, causing a jolt of electricity to run through the ball. "Oh. Hi. Sorry. Oh my. I'm just... No, stop, sorry, I'm just recording something. Lola, come on, Lola. Sorry. Take care. Really sorry about that. Lola and I ran into, some woman having her walks with the dogs and, had to pull her away. The thing is, I don't think the DU recorder will let me edit this out without cutting out most of the videos, so I'm not going to take that risk. I just want the complete video, warts and all. Now, what was the reading? Aha. As the liquid settled, the woman reached out and pulled a lever, causing a jolt of electricity to run through the ball. The reaction was immediate, turning the hunk of metal from black to neon pink in color. "Ta-da!" the woman declared excitedly. "Isn't it great?" "Yeah," Hiro replied uncertainly. "It's so... pink." "Here's the best part," the woman said in this sing-song voice. "Here's the best part," the woman said in the sing-song voice, so she reached out and poked the ball, causing it to explode into a cloud of pink dust. "Phew." "Whoa!" Hiro said, blinking his eyes in surprise. "I know, right?" The woman giggled as she took her glasses off and began cleaning the pink dust off. "Instant metal embrittlement." "That's pretty impressive, honey," Tadashi congratulated the woman as he stepped up next to her. "Thank you, Magic," the woman replied playfully. "Honey and Magic?" Hiro questioned with amusement. "Those are some cutesy nicknames you two got there." Most people around here call us that, Tadashi explained, though Hiro noticed Honey blush and glance away from the boy. This is my friend, Pamela Rodriguez. It's nice to meet you, Hiro greeted with a smile and a nod. And you, Hiro, Honey replied, Hiro noting the fact that she went out of her way to pronounce his name the traditional way. Yeah, it's Hiro. But seriously, honey and magic? Honey pressed. Why magic? Short for magic, man, Tadashi explained with a smile. I helped a friend out of a jam and, well, my name is Tadashi. That's still a weird nickname, bro, Hiro commented with a chuckle and a shake of his head. I just met a girl who goes by Go-Go, Riley said as she walked in to join them. And the guy over there is called Wasabi, Tip added as she joined them as well. Who comes up with these names? Hiro pondered aloud. This guy, right here, a voice suddenly said from behind the three children, causing them to jump in surprise and spin around. Behind them, someone, a young man by the sound of his voice, stood dressed in a costume that resembled a giant lizard, though it seemed like the costume had seen better days. Hey, don't worry, the voice said placatingly, as the costume's arms went limp and its large mouth was open from the inside, revealing the young man within. Do not be alarmed, it's just a suit. This is not my real face and body. The young man was roughly the same age as the other students, with a pale complexion and unkempt light brown hair that hung on his shoulders, and was contained under a turquoise ski cap with a snarling monster face drawn on the front. He grinned at the three, his blue eyes sparkling as he stuck his hand out of the suit but towards the three children, revealing the pink t-shirt he wore over a white, long-sleeve shirt. Name's Fred, he greeted with a friendly tone. Hiro, the boy replied, shaking Fred's hand. Tip, the girl added, shaking the offered hand as well. Riley, the third child finished as she shook Fred's hand. Whoa, those are some accents you two got, Fred said to the girls as he pulled his arm back and redonned the costume fully. I take it you two aren't from around here. We just moved here, Tip explained. I'm originally from Barbados. And I'm from Minnesota, Riley added. Minnesota, eh? Fred teased, putting on a thicker version of Riley's accent. That's close to Fargo, don't you know? Fargo's in North Dakota, Riley pointed out as she narrowed her eyes at Fred. Close enough for me, Fargo, Fred teased, causing Riley to roll her eyes and Tip to snort. I'll have to come up with one for you too, Fred continued, eyeing Tip. I'll have to come up with one for you too, Fred continued, eyeing Tip. Don't think you'll have to, Fredzilla, Tip answered with a shrug, causing Riley to giggle. Tip's already a nickname. Oh yeah? Fred questioned. What's it short for? Gratuity, Tip answered with a smirk. There was a pause as Fred seemed to digest Tip's words, before he abruptly laughed as he got the joke. Yeah, I can't beat that, Fred conceded as he walked over to a corner of the lab that was occupied by an old reclining chair. A few colorful posters depicting comic and anime characters hung on the wall behind it, while it was flanked on both sides by piles of trash and comic books. So, what's your major? Hiro questioned. No, I'm not a student, Fred explained, though I am a major science enthusiast. What's with the costume? Tip questioned. Well, by day I work as the school mascot, but by night, Fred explained, picking up a sign with the school's name on it from where it lay against the recliner before spinning it around expertly, even throwing in a backflip as he tossed the sign into the air before catching it. I am also the school mascot. You're the school mascot even though you don't go here, Riley questioned. Gives me an excuse to hang around, Fred explained as he set the sign down again. What are you supposed to be anyway? Tip questioned as she looked the suit over. Ah, come on. You've never heard of the SFIT kaijus? Fred questioned. I'm the giant, city-destroying lizard mascot, Kyle. Godzilla would have been my first choice, but... Well, Kylezilla may be an excellent choice, but Kyle's good. Getting nothing but blank stares from the children, Fred sighed dramatically as he all but fell into the recliner. This is why I'm trying to get the school to change the mascot to a giant moth, Fred stated. That would be so much more San Fransokyo kaiju. I've also tried to get Honey to make me a formula to turn me into a real kaiju at will, but she says that's not science. It's really not, Honey argued weakly as she walked over to Fred's chair along with Gogo and Wasabi. Yeah, sure, Fred laughed. And I'm sure that Shrink Ram trying to get Wasabi to build isn't real science either. Nope, Wasabi answered, crossing his arms as he gave Fred a beaming smile. Hey man, it's provable fact that North Koreans already cracked that, Fred said as he pointed an accusing finger at Wasabi. Not my fault you don't have the community to figure it out. Oh, not this again, Gogo groaned, rolling her eyes. Hey, just because he refused to believe the truth about what happened in the moon doesn't make me wrong, Fred argued. Oh. The three children exchanged confused glances before a noise caught their attention. The three spotted Tadashi a short distance away, beckoning him towards a room cut off from the rest of the lab. Following Tadashi inside, the three found themselves in a small robotics lab, tools and parts scattered about. One wall was occupied by a computer terminal, while the wall across the entrance had a large circular window that looked out onto the SFIT campus. Is this your part of the lab, Tadashi? Riley inquired as she looked around. Yep, Tadashi answered with a smirk. What are you making in here? Tip asked. Let me show you, Tadashi replied as he picked up a roll of duct tape from a nearby table. Hate to break it to you, bro, but somebody already invented duct tape, Hiro joked, turning to look at Riley with a smirk. As he did, Tadashi quickly reached down, grabbed Hiro's arm, rolled up his sleeve, and slapped a length of duct tape onto it. Before Hiro could do anything, Tadashi reached down and yanked the tape off, leaving a painful red abrasion on his arm. Ouch! Hiro squealed, causing Tip to laugh and Riley to cover her mouth to hide her amusement, as the boy glared at his brother. Dude, ow! What was that for? Tadashi held up a finger to get Hiro to wait, before pointing over to a red box that sat on the floor near the window. As they watched, the box beeped before opening. As it opened, a fan kicked in, creating a noise that sounded like a balloon being inflated. As the three children watched, a white balloon expanded from the box, taking on a humanoid figure as it went. This is what I've been working on, Tadashi stated as the process finished. A robot the likes of which none of them had ever seen before stood before the group. It was tall, standing a few inches taller than Tadashi and towering over the children. The robot was pure white in color with a rounded look, with long arms that ended in four-fingered hands and a pudgy torso. Its legs were very short in comparison, short nubs on the bottom of its torso with no knees to speak of. A minimalist face was projected on its small head, consisting of two black dots for eyes and a thin line connecting them that gave the impression of a mouth. A small, almost badge-like slot sat around the area of where a heart would be on a person. As the children watched, the robot looked down at its box before carefully stepping out of it. It began walking towards them, the material that it was composed of squeaking as it moved, before it bumped into a rolling stool that had been left in the middle of the room. With slow, deliberate movements, the robot reached down and picked the stool up. Looking to both its sides with careful calculation, The robot set the stool down so that it was out of the way before continuing towards the group. Hello, I am Baymax, your personal healthcare companion. The robot greeted with a mellow, oddly warm voice as it gave them a strange, circular wave. Tadashi stepping up behind, mouthing along with what was clearly a pre-written speech. I was alerted to the need for medical attention when you said, ow. A robotic nurse? Tip observed with a wry grin. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your pain? Baymax questioned as his chest glowed before the image of a pain chart, depicting cartoon faces with various expressions of distress and ranked from 1 to 10 appeared. Physical? Hiro questioned as he shot his brother a glare. Or emotional? Tadashi pouted comically at Hiro, earning a giggle from Tip. I will scan you now, Baymax stated, before pausing as he glanced Hiro up and down. A small whirring noise coming from somewhere inside the robot, followed by a light beep as the image of a body appeared on his chest, displaying his findings. Scan complete. I am detecting a slight epidermal abrasion on your right forearm. I suggest an antibacterial spray. Whoa, what's in the spray specifically? Hiro quizzed with a conniving look on his face as Baymax stepped towards him. The primary ingredient is bacitracin. Baymax answered as he projected the image of the chemical structure of a bacitracin on his chest. That's a bummer, I'm actually allergic to that, Hiro stated smugly. You are not allergic to bacitracin, Baymax corrected, his speech filled with pauses and odd shifts in tone as his processes filled in the blanks to his predetermined lines. You do have a mild allergy to peanuts. Wow, he really knows his stuff, Tip commented. Baymax here is programmed with over 10,000 medical procedures, and he's equipped with everything necessary to carry them out, Tadashi explained. Go ahead and give him your arm. Nodding, Hiro held his arm out to Baymax. The robot gently took the arm and held his finger over it, before the antibacterial spray shot out of the tip, coating Hiro's arm. Wow, Tip said in amazement. What's he made out of? Vinyl, Tadashi answered. I was going with a non-threatening, huggable kind of vibe. Walking up to Baymax, Hiro pressed his face against the robot's stomach, stretching it far enough to allow him to see through the material. On the inside, Baymax was largely empty space, though Hiro could see a metallic skeleton within, with wires and pieces of equipment attached to it. What did you make the skeleton out of? Hiro questioned. Titanium? Carbon fiber, Tadashi answered. Right, even lighter, Hiro mused before his eyes lit up as he noticed something. Killer actuators! Killer actuators! Where did you get those? I machined them right here, in-house, Tadashi answered proudly. Really? Hiro questioned, pulling back and looking at Tadashi in surprise. Yep, Tadashi answered. He can lift 1,000 pounds. That's not the most important part, though. Walking up to Baymax, Tadashi tapped a slot on his chest, causing it to extend, revealing a port designed to hold up to 4 computer drives. Only one drive was installed, a green-colored one with the cartoon depiction of a doctor on it, and Tadashi's name written across the top. This drive contains all of Baymax's programming, Tadashi elaborated. It's what makes Baymax Baymax. As the others talked, Riley remained oddly quiet, staring up at Baymax with wide eyes. Slowly and hesitantly, Riley approached Baymax. Seeming to notice her, Baymax turned his attention towards Riley, causing the girl to freeze in her tracks. For a few moments, the two merely stared at each other, blue eyes looking into black. My eyes are black and blue. I'm crawling back to you, baby. Then, Baymax did the last thing Riley expected. Baymax blinked. Oh, yeah! Why? Riley began to say, grabbing everyone's attention as she paused to lick her dry lips. Why does he blink? Tadashi glanced at Baymax before smirking as she turned his gaze back to Riley. It's to keep the electroscopic cameras he has in there clear, Tadashi explained. It's also a little touch to make people more easy around him, to make him seem more human. Do I make you uneasy? Baymax questioned. No, Riley answered, a smile tugging at her lips. No, you don't. I thought you didn't like bots, Tip observed with a smirk. You don't? Hiro questioned in confusion. Not normally, no, Riley explained, taking a step towards Baymax and reaching a hand out towards him. My dad works in robots, exploration ones. There are always these cold, boxy things focused on their mission. But I can tell Baymax is different. He seems so gentle and... Riley paused as she touched Baymax's stomach, surprised by the warmth she felt radiating off the robot. Warm, she finished, her expression turning into a full grin. Well, I guess I'm doing something right then, Tadashi observed with a shrug. As he did, Baymax turned his attention back towards Hiro. You have been a good boy, Baymax said as he leaned down and lifting his hand up, revealing a red lollipop. Would you like a lollipop? Ooh, thanks, Hiro said with childlike glee, taking the offered treat and popping it in his mouth. I cannot deactivate until you tell me you are satisfied with your care, Baymax informed Hiro. All right, Hiro replied with a grin and nod. I am satisfied with my care. Without another word, Baymax turned away and walked over to his case, stepping into it before deflating again. So I guess this is a charging station, Hiro observed. What does he run off of? Lithium-ion batteries, Tadashi explained. You should use supercapacitors, Hiro replied. They charge quicker. Tadashi mulled over the suggestion when a knock came from the door. Turning around, the group found a tall, middle-aged man with short gray hair and blue eyes standing in the door. He was dressed in a gray sweater vest over a maroon shirt with the sleeves rolled up, along to the elbow, along with brown slacks and brown leather shoes. Working on a Saturday, Tadashi? The man questioned with a chuckle. I feel like when I was your age, I had better things to do on a weekday than spend all day stuck in the lab. I was just showing my brother and his friends around, Professor, Tadashi explained with a warm smile. We were actually just about to head out. Well, let me walk you all out, the professor replied as the group began making their way towards the door, the man's eyes following on Hiro as they went. You must be Hiro, the professor said as he nodded towards the boy in question. Your brother talks about you all the time. Bot fighter, right? Yeah, Hiro answered with a nod. When my daughter Abigail was younger, all she wanted to do was be a bot fighter, the professor mused as they walked through the lab, Tadashi waving to his friends as they left, earning an enthusiastic wave from Honey. You got it with you? No, but my phone is connected to my computer at home so I can pull up the schematics, Hiro answered, pulling out his phone and pulling up Megabot schematics before handing it to the professor. The man squinted as he looked the schematic over before nodding his head thoughtfully. Magnetic bearing servos, huh? The professor observed as he handed the phone back to Hiro. Yeah, I could show you how they work if you... Hiro began to say, but stopped as Tadashi bumped his shoulder. Hey, genius, Tadashi said as Hiro looked up at him. He doesn't need you to explain how they work. He's the guy who invented them. Hiro's eyes went as wide as saucers as he snapped his head around to look at the professor. "You're Robert Callahan," Hiro mumbled in astonishment. I'm mumbling too. You're the guys behind Callahan's Laws of Robotics." "That's me. Though nowadays, I mostly just teach." "Teach?" Robert chuckled in amusement. "You ever think of applying here? I know you've already graduated high school and your age wouldn't be an issue." "I don't know," Tadashi spoke up uncertainly before Hiro could answer. "He's pretty serious about his bot fighting career." "I mean, it's not that serious," Hiro mumbled, causing Riley and Tip to giggle. "I understand. With a bot like that, winning must come easy," Robert stated as he eyed Hiro. "Yeah, I guess," Hiro replied uncertainly. "Well, if you like things easy, this wouldn't be the place for you," Robert said as the group reached the elevator, the doors dinging open. "We push the limits of science and robotics here. It's not for everyone." Hiro said nothing as he stepped into the elevator with his friends and brother, Robert leaning against the wall outside. "It was nice to meet you, Hiro," Robert said with a smirk. "And good luck with the bot fighting." The doors dinged closed and he was gone. A few moments later, the group stepped out of the lab and began making their way down the stairs to where Cass's truck waited. "That was pretty awesome, Tadashi," Tip commented. "Thanks for taking us." "No problem, it's a pretty great place to work at," Tadashi replied, his hands stuffed into his pockets as he walked. "What did you think, Hiro?" Riley questioned before pausing and looking back when she didn't get an answer. "Hiro?" Hiro stood in the middle of the staircase, looking back at the lab. "You okay?" Riley asked as she turned back and walked up beside him. Riley, I have to go here," Hiro said as he turned towards the girl, running a hand through his hair, the expression on his face causing her to giggle. "If I don't go to this nerd school, I think I might go insane." "Then do it," Riley replied with a shrug. "Geez, if I was as smart as you, I'd apply here in a heartbeat." "All right," Hiro said with an excited grin before turning to his brother. "Tadashi, I've decided I want to go here. How do I apply?" "Well, unfortunately," Tadashi sighed, pulling off his cap and running his hand through his hair. "It's not that simple. Running hands through hairs runs in the family, and that's the end of the chapter. Office note. This has been the most fun I've had writing a chapter in a while. I've had so much to draw on and so many great characters to introduce that it just kept coming, which is why this one ended up running rather long. Hope you guys liked it. As always, feedback and critiques are always welcome, so please review. Unless you're asking me if the emotions will be in the story, like about a dozen of you already have. The answer is yes, so please stop asking. Later! By emotions, Finmonster obviously means the emotions that are the main characters in Inside Out, along with Riley. But that's possibly for the next chapter. We have chapter 4 to go to next, and after that, it's going to be about 32 chapters after that. This story is even more exciting than I thought it would be, so let me know what you guys think, and as always, I hope you enjoyed. I'm the Masked Ranger, and keep moving forward.